Howdy y'all, Lance from Permanent Records back with another video. This one is a big one. Permanent Records has been around for 17 plus years. We're going on our 18th year of business, and we've bought a lot of records over those years. A lot of big collections of all different types of genres. We bought punk collections, jazz, reggae, electronic krautrock collections, psych, you name it. We've bought anything and everything you can imagine underneath the sun. We even bought a massive collection of Goa trance records one time. That particular subgenre of dance music is something I'd never even seen on Discogs before, the genre of Goa trance, until I bought this one massive collection of that particular type of music. We buy all different types of records. We're not necessarily known as a jazz record store, but we bought a lot of great jazz records over the years, and we just bought a massively beautiful jazz record collection. Not massive in terms of the size, it was only a few more than 400 pieces, but the quality was incredible, and I'm going to show some of that off in this video today. But before we get going through the records, please like this video and subscribe if this is the kind of content that you'd like us to be creating. I will change gears and only feature the collections that we've bought before we offer them up for sale, if we get a lot of good feedback on this video. You're here with me in my spare bedroom, which is also the record sorting room when we buy record collections. Nowadays, I used to have 3 locations and we had back rooms of every one of our stores. Now with the Permanent Records Roadhouse, it's a wholly different scenario. I work from home a lot, and everything that we buy comes into this room and then gets sorted as it gets priced, etc. So anyway, you can see my punk flyer collection on the wall behind me, and I'm surrounded with crates of records and little piles here and there that I've set aside for this video. This record collection is mind-blowing. First and foremost, let me say these records are not yet for sale. I've been spending the better part of 17 years buying records and immediately flipping them. That's what I've been doing over and over and over again at all of our locations. I am always trying to provide our customers with the best possible records, to keep them coming back, to keep them excited the same way I'm always trying to keep myself excited by buying fresh stuff. So first and foremost, let's say in this video that none of these records are for sale yet. I think for the first time in a very long time, I'm going to spend some time with this collection. It's been a very long time since I've sat down and listened to a lot of jazz. I'm primarily a rock head, and I want to do that with this collection. A, because the titles are phenomenal. B, because the condition is amazing. And C, because it's just something I don't do very often. I usually buy smaller lots of records, hand pick things from certain things, or we're buying a big lot of records, all of which I've heard so many times that I'm kind of like, all right, keep it moving, keep it moving, keep it moving. Things do slip through the cracks, and we do have things like the Kashmir Stage Band record that we sold recently in the shop for $1,000. I did not actually get time to sit down and actually absorb that one. That record is incredible. I've heard it, I've streamed it, I've seen the Texas Thunder Soul documentary. It's awesome if you haven't seen that yet. But the point is, the blessing and the curse of being a record store owner and or just being someone who buys and sells vinyl records for a living is that there are more records than there are hours of the day to listen to any and all of the records that end up in your hands. It's really a tragedy of the whole situation. I'm trying to do better about that and like actually enjoy records that come into my possession before I sell them as much as possible, because that is why I got into this in the first place. But we buy so heavily and we buy so much quantity that it's very difficult to find time to listen to all the records that come into our possession. So I for better or worse for y'all, I'm gonna spend some time with this collection. We will keep you posted on social media and via our email blast. You can sign up for that on our website, permanentrecordsla.com, and please follow us at permanentrecordsla on Instagram. So we'll announce when these records are going to be offered up for sale. I'm probably not going to keep very many of them for very long. I just want to enjoy this and absorb it a little bit before I actually sell off all these records. So let's get into it. If you can hear what's playing in the background, I purposefully have music on in the background because it makes me feel a lot more comfortable. I don't like just sitting, or in this case, standing in a room doing videos and talking into the void, creating a little vibe for myself first and foremost, and actually, like, you know, offering you a little bit of background music and some reference for what we're talking about sometimes is really important to me. So if it is pretty quiet, but if you can hear this, this is one of the greatest records in this collection. This is Nate Morgan, Journey into Negrita, and it's a still sealed original pressing on the Nimbus West label. For those of you who collect spiritual jazz, Nimbus West is well known. It's one of the greatest small private press, well, not private press, but small jazz record labels of its time, and they did a lot of really amazing records on this label. This is just amazing and one of the most incredible pieces in the collection. Tempted to crack this, but I don't know that I will, but I have been enjoying it online a lot, and there is a reissue of this. I think Nimbus West themselves reissued this pretty recently. So anyway, I'm not going to take as much time as I've taken to talk about this record to get through this. I want to try to show off as many of these 400 or so records as I possibly can in as short of a period of time as possible. So here we go. I'm just going to keep on moving. So let's see what else we got here. We got Joe Henderson. On this Joe Henderson, The Elements record, we got Charlie Haden, Alice Coltrane, and who else is on here? Michael White. Amazing violinist, and yeah, that's one you do not see very often. And again, the condition, you probably can't tell on camera how beautiful the condition on the majority of this collection was. It was absolutely stunning. All right, and then we got Hank Mobley, classic Blue Note artist, and just look at that in condition. It's just unbelievable. We got William S. Fisher Circles. This is a promo. There is some jazz, or obviously there's some jazz, some soul and funk records in the mix as well. We got this bad boy, the Stanley Crouch, Ain't No Ambulances. I'm not gonna say the rest of that title. On Flying Dutchman, amazing stuff. And you can see as I go through these just how beautiful the condition is. And instead of rattling off all the titles and information about these records, you jazz heads out there know exactly what you're looking at. I'm gonna just kind of tell stories that I think of as they come up when as I'm showing these records off in this video. We'll just rock this for about 20 or 30 minutes, and then we will go on to the next video. This may be a multiple part series, and yeah, just amazing stuff to show off in this video. You know, there's a lot of heavy hitters in here, but there's also you know, some more common stuff. But even the more common stuff, like this Billie Holiday record, is super clean. There's another beautiful Billie Holiday record. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so people don't think of, oh my goodness, people do not think of me as a jazz record cat, which is unfortunate because for a time I was trying to be an Impulse Records completist. I had a sizable amount of the releases on the label, including this Alice Coltrane Universal Consciousness LP. Just amazing spiritual jazz stuff. Those of you who aren't familiar with Alice Coltrane, please feel free to leave this video now and go check out the Monastic Trio album, or Journey, or Ptah. There's so many amazing Alice Coltrane albums, and yeah, it's just endless with her, and every single one of them, even Eternity, like the later ones, are awesome. And yeah, so I was, aiming to collect all of the Impulse jazz records at some point. I got super into the label. The Impulse record label is really right up my alley. There's a lot of spiritual jazz, a lot of free jazz, and a lot of avant-garde jazz on the label, in addition to a fair amount of post-bop and other subgenres. But anyway, if you want to dip your toe into the Impulse record story, this book right here, The House That Train Built by Ashley Kahn, is amazing. Not only does it tell the history of the label, there are little sections in here that feature individual titles on certain, highlighted titles in the catalog. And yeah, that even as someone who is not super into jazz, was a mind blower and really got me stoked on the label. And I love how they designed the book to imitate the jacket artwork, that famous orange and black label. Yeah, Impulse Records, one of my favorite jazz record labels for sure. Obviously in this collection, lots of Impulse, lots of Blue Note, which is always good. You can never get enough Blue Note, whether it's the Jimmy Smiths of the world or the Lee Morgans of the world. If it's on Blue Note, you know it's quality. Just stunning stuff in this collection. And it was sold to us. I'll get into the value of how much we had to pay for this particular collection at some point, either in this video or in another. If you want to guess how much we had to pay for this collection, feel free to comment below. But I'll just keep showing off the records as I get to them here. Yeah, there were 4 boxes. I told a record dealer friend of mine that I needed more jazz for the shop. We buy all types of rock music all the time, but we just don't get clean jazz often enough, and people come in asking for it all the time, and I really don't want to have to get in the habit of stocking reissues if I don't have to. We've stocked plenty of reissues, and reissues are perfectly fine if you can't find good, clean, original pressings, but I always prefer to sell original pressings of anything we're selling at the shop. It's more appealing to me. I like the fact that you can take this record out of the jacket and play it on our listening station before you buy it. And I can play the records without having to stream them online to be able to sell a new reissue. So, all right, next little grip here. It's endless. It's just such an impressive collection. Whoever had this stuff, oh man, this Alice record is absolutely stunning. Whoever bought this stuff back in the day, not only did they have exquisite taste for the most part, there's a handful of records in the lot that I'm not especially excited about, but they are in the minority for sure. The majority of this stuff is bangers. Just unbelievable condition too, as I mentioned. Not only is the vinyl super nice, the jackets, even though they weren't in poly bags or seemingly protected well at all, the condition was just stunning, and that's why I went for this, even though the collection cost a pretty penny. Those of you who somehow have been living under a rock, this is the gateway to spiritual jazz right here, or jazz in general. If you're not particularly fond of jazz, or don't think you can get into it, whether you're a metalhead or punk rocker or only into ambient music or only into disco, just listen to A Love Supreme sometime. Really sit down and let it flow through you, because it is a spiritual. When they say spiritual jazz, this is a meditative and spiritual album, and it will change your life. It's absolutely amazing. There's a reason why it's known as the one. It's because it is. And in this collection, in addition to there being a ton of Alice Coltrane, there were a bunch, and I mean a bunch, of John Coltrane records too. This is completely unsorted. I just am pulling records out of the boxes as they were given to me when I forked over a big pile of cash, and I'm just showing them as they come out of the box. I have not had time to sort through this collection because I've been waiting to have time to make this video, which I don't know if that's the smartest thing to do, but I don't do that. Again, I work so much, buy, sell, trade records, host shows, and, manage the bar and the staff and do all the administrative duties at Permanent Records Roadhouse. It's so hard to find time to do anything more than what I already do. But I wanted to deal with this collection slightly differently. I wanted to take my time with it because jazz is a genre of music that really rewards, very intense and intent listening. Jazz is the kind of music that's meant to be sat down and listened to. You're supposed to sit down with the album cover, read the liner notes, really get into the headspace that the artists were in when they wrote and recorded this music, and let it kind of just wash over you. You're not gonna dance to the majority of these records. No real raging party makes sense to play these records at, but a lot of these records are good background music for a dinner party, including some of the freakier ones if you have freaky friends. But yeah, this Money Jungle record is unbelievable. My experience, my history with jazz records doesn't start super early. I wasn't seeing a lot of jazz records when I first got into record collecting. I grew up in Missouri, and you just didn't see this kind of stuff at most of the record stores there, and I didn't know where to begin anyway back in the day. It's hard not to stop and say something about this. This is John and Alice playing together. There's an earlier self-released version of Cosmic Music. This is the Impulse Records pressing, and that's some really, really far out free jazz. So, I learned about jazz by way of reading about rock music, I think. It's hard to say. I'm old now, so thinking back as to where it all started is kind of difficult. But I learned about jazz by, like I said, reading about rock music, or reading, publications like Mojo and Arthur magazine and stuff like that. If a jazz record was good enough to be mentioned by somebody like Thurston Moore or Byron Coley or someone like that, or somebody, I read a lot of Forced Exposure when I was younger. Then I knew that would be the kind of jazz for me, and I kind of learned about it from there. And man, what a great Impulse title again. Gotta love that orange and black spine. So, but one real game changer, and Pharoah Sanders was one of the artists that I discovered this way. Was I was walking on campus, or maybe somebody gave me a hot tip that there were some records available at the library of University of Missouri. And so I went down there after school one day, and I walked up to the library and I saw a sandwich board out front, and it said record sale, second floor, 25 cents each. So I was like, all right, let's see what this is all about. Well, I walked up to that floor of the college library where the records were for sale. I walked into the room. There was nobody else in there. It was just me, the records, and multiple turntables set up as listening stations. So I just dug in and I was like, what is this stuff? I didn't know anything about jazz really. I knew the bare minimum, the Miles Davis, some John Coltrane stuff. I'm sure I was aware of A Love Supreme at the time. I was like, I don't know, 18 or 19 years old, and I was listening to a bunch of punk rock records and, like going in super, super heavy into stuff like Sonic Youth and Mudhoney and, that sort of thing. So Husker Du, the R Band Could Be Your Life, the Black Flag, the Minor Threat, Fugazi. I was listening to a lot of that kind of stuff at the time. And anyway, so I just start combing through these records. They're a quarter a piece. If that was the situation now, I would have just bought them all. But I didn't know what I was looking at. I maybe didn't have enough money to buy them all, which is insane. But there were hundreds of records in this room, and I just pulled out all the things that I thought looked interesting. I needle dropped them, and I took home a big old pile, maybe multiple boxes. I can't remember at this point, but I know there was some Pharoah Sanders in the mix, a bunch of spiritual jazz by all sorts of amazing artists, and that is how I was exposed to a lot of the craziest free jazz. There was stuff on small labels, there were major label records in there. I don't remember. And I've sold all of my records a couple of different times, so I don't have very many of them, if any, anymore. But that story will always stick with me because it'll never happen again. That's a once in a lifetime type story. This is an incredible album, Bobby Hutcherson Now on Blue Note. And yeah, it's that was an amazing way. I was very lucky to have had that experience, and it did lead me to starting to collect the Impulse label. It got me comfortable with listening to things that were outside of my wheelhouse, and it got me curious about what else was out there. And I'm still to this day learning new things all the time. It's absolutely an endless and wonderful well to get into, and it just like blows my mind all the time. No matter how many records come across my desk, how many more there are out there that I haven't ever listened to because you just don't have time, and that I haven't and sometimes even that I haven't ever seen before. Nothing like that in this particular collection. I've seen the majority of these records before, but have I seen them all in one lot like this, in this condition? It's been a while. It's been a long while, and that's why I decided to pay the piper and just throw down on this collection, because it's just unbelievably beautiful stuff that I'm really excited to sit down with, listen to, and share with you all eventually at the shop. Some beautiful Brazilian stuff in the mix. So yeah, anyway, I I'm just so excited to show these records off. It's really fun to go back through them again because I had about, I don't know, a half an hour or so to make the deal happen. It was about to rain. I had to look at the records inside of this person's vehicle, and I needed to get them out if I was going to buy them and back to my crib before I headed over to the Roadhouse to open up the record shop on a Saturday morning a couple weeks ago. And I've just been trying to carve out the time to make this video. I like to do these videos after I've done all my homework. I got to get all the rest of the stuff that I do done before I can justify sitting down. There's a bunch of really clean Aretha Franklin records in the mix here too. Some Jackie McLean for you. And this is the first time in a couple of weeks where I felt like, all right, now's the time to crack open those boxes that I bought, that I spent a small fortune on to do at least the first video. I'll probably do some more videos. I mean, I'm creeping up on the 25-minute mark and we barely scratched the surface here. Another super clean Aretha. I'm really, really excited. Some kind of common things in the mix as well. Not a whole lot of it, but some, to be sure. And yeah, I'm very excited to do more videos like this to show off the records that we bought. Maybe do a few videos where I feature the records that I think are the most amazing in the collection. And we'll take it from there. We'll see. And then at some point, I'll probably have bought another massive record collection, and I'll need the space that these amazing Lee Morgan, the Sidewinder. Stereo pressing on Blue Note. Not an OG mono, but still just unbelievable stuff. Bunch of Lee Morgan in here. I think we're about to hit a big chunk of Miles Davis. Yeah, so stay tuned for those videos. Leave me a comment below. Feel free to ask me any questions you might have. Again, I meant to say how much I spent on this collection at the beginning of the video, but now that we've gotten this far in, I'll save that for another video. We'll leave that as a cliffhanger. Feel free to throw your guesses into the comments below. Feel free to ask me a question. In this particular lot, I met up with this gentleman. Like I said, we did not have a whole lot of time. So what I said to him before the meeting was, tell me what the retail value of this is based on your research, this lot, and I'm going to trust you. I'm going to trust that you've done the research, you know exactly what these 400 or so records are worth, and you're going to be honest with me, and I will pay you your asking price. And so that's how we did the deal. I wish, well, we'll see if that was a good strategy or not. I haven't priced any of this stuff out. I knew it was a record lot worth buying. I knew I wouldn't lose, even if I decided to keep these records and, you know, let them appreciate in value over some time, and just got some enjoyment out of them. It would have been worth it. So I was happy to do it, and happy to just start a relationship with this particular record seller in hopes that we can make more deals like this one happen, because this record collection is absolutely stunning. This Blues in the Abstract Truth by Oliver Nelson, another great Impulse title. And I knew if I didn't just pay up for this stuff that I would be disappointed in myself later. And that's the last thing you want, is non-buyer's remorse. I've had that happen before, where I passed on a particular record or a lot of records, and I wished later that I had just gone for it. I did not pass this time. I went for it, and we'll see if the CPA thinks that was a good idea or not. I think it was a great idea, even if there is some Frank Sinatra in the mix. It will have been an interesting experiment, to say the least, and I think it's going to end up working out just fine. Even if the profit margin isn't where I'd really like for it to be, we'll give it a shot. That's what we do. We take chances on things, and I haven't lost on a record collection yet. And when the condition is as stunning as this one is, I don't think I can lose here either. But you tell me. Again, I'm getting near the end of this box. We're getting near 30 minutes here. And yeah, I'll leave it to you to decide whether or not this was a good buy on my part or not. Friendly reminder, I'm Lance from Permanent Records and the Permanent Records Roadhouse. Thank you for watching this YouTube video. Let me know if you'd like to see another one, and I will make one from the same collection. Right on. Cheers.